Think we're live. Hello, hello, everybody.
Hey.
Hi. If you're just entering the room, you are in for a massive treat. I am so excited to come live today. I'm here with the founder and formulator of Kiss Goodnight, Shelly Ann Winokur. I just been trying to plan this live because I have so many questions. This is the foremost professional when it comes to things like skin microbiome, skin pH, skin mantle, and the importance of these things. So I have a ton of questions. I know you might have a ton of questions, which I'll read afterwards. We're going to talk about how she got to where she is, how she developed Kiss Goodnight, and the whole line of products, and the importance of making sure that your child's skin mantle, skin pH, and skin microbiome are at their finest and healthiest. So big welcome. Thank you so much for coming on to speak with us. I know you're super busy, so thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you so much. This is my favorite thing to do, honestly, talk about the skin microbiome and skincare in relation to it. So
yeah,
loving it.
This is such an emerging topic, even though it's traditionally known how important skin microbiome is. It's not really talked about in conventional medicine. As a conventional pediatrician, that was my background, there was no conversation about microbiome in general. When I went to medical school, when I trained in residency, when I became a attending physician, there was just no conversation about it, no education about it. And so only now we're seeing emerging information and studies and evidence-based medicine. So I think that you're truly at the forefront of this medicine and this information that is life-changing and transforming. And that's why I'm so excited to ask you all these questions about how the chemistry of it all works. But I'm so curious, how did you get into this in the first place?
Yeah. So I am a chemical engineer by background. I studied from the New York area. So I went to Columbia and Princeton, got a master's in engineering, then went off into the pharmaceutical world, making drugs and worked on diabetes drugs. I did cosmetics for a while at Avon, made lipstick. I did teeth whitening strips, nail strips, just making a lot of stuff. So that was my specialty, scaling up chemistry from the lab into the pilot plant. I love making products that people use. So very much applied chemistry and chemical engineering. And so I was very comfortable formulating. I was very comfortable in the lab as well as in the pilot plant, thinking about how do we make more of something, right? And then I'm also a mom. I'm a mom of 4. I have 2 girls, 2 boys. And when my second was 2 years old, he through a series of things that happened in his life, by 2 years old, he had eczema and showed signs of eczema. And now after learning, I would consider it fairly mild to moderate eczema. Doing what every parent does, researching, talking to your pediatrician, finding what creams or lotions or what would work for his skin. And I'm not 100, and I didn't know anything about the microbiome. As I said, I did many years of school. I did not hear the word microbiome until I started researching for my son's skin itself. And as a chemical engineer, we learn to find the root cause. We learn to ask why for any problem we have. So we get to that root cause. And once we eliminate the problem, we eliminate the root cause, we eliminate the problem. And that was sort of my style of thinking. And that was a strategy I was using when it came to eczema, because as you know, you get so frustrated with, you think you've got it and it comes back, then comes back, and you just can't figure it out. So in my journey, one thing happened was I read somewhere, and it could be a series of books or different things, to take less baths was one of the things. I was like, okay, let's try this. He was still sort of a preschooler at this point. And I was amazed how well that worked for his skin. And that really accelerated like this belief or understanding of, hey, I got to understand the microbiome, because it made me realize that that was a factor in play here. I was trying to think of all these different things, what lotion, what ingredient would make him better, and not thinking about the microbiome. So there was that mind shift. Okay, really for him to have healthy skin, he needs a healthy skin microbiome. And now just attacking it from that step, how do we make his skin microbiome healthy? And the solution there was, you know, strategically thinking how I'm going to clean his skin, because when you're cleaning and over cleansing, and depending on what you're using, you can kill the skin microbiome. So strategically thinking about how to clean his skin. And then second, what to clean his skin with. And that's when I started formulating skincare specifically for this. And that's like the oil-based cleansers, the pH-friendly lotions, barrier protecting balms, and even more. So now during the process, I had my fourth, and the idea there was, how do I prevent her from having sensitive skin and eczema? You know, I just turned it up and asked, let me use the principles that I learned with my second child and apply it to her as she was developing. So for me, the idea now becomes, one, how do we, yes, manage it? Not how do we manage it or soothe sensitive skin and eczema, but how do we transform sensitive skin to healthy and resilient skin? Really trying to eliminate that problem. And then two, how do we try to avoid it? With the new generation, and, because what I see so often are moms with sensitive skin coming to me and coming to use our products because they don't want their children to go through the same thing they went through or their older child went through.
So we talk so much about the microbiome, and tell us, because not everyone is well versed in what a microbiome is. I know it took me years of research to figure out that there is a microbiome and how important it is both inside the gut and on the skin. So tell us, what is the microbiome?
Yeah, the microbiome is both the good and bad microbes on your good and bad, because there's no real clear understanding of what's good and bad, right? It's really different ones throughout your body. So the good and bad microbes on your skin, and they include bacteria, yeast, mold, viruses, and they help regulate your skin functions. They help you exfoliate your skin. They help balance your sebum levels. They help
the oil, right? The sebum,
yeah, the oils on your skin.
Yep.
They help fortify sort of your skin cells. They create peptides that help fortify your skin cells, so they kind of stick together and create an even stronger barrier. And really, so their job there is to help defend your skin, especially against pathogens, and also very importantly to recognize what a pathogen is, because so often with skin sensitivities and eczema, if you do have a damaged or imbalanced microbiome, your skin is getting really confused of what's a potential danger and what's sort of normal in your environment.
So when things,
Yeah,
and so in medicine, there are times when the microbes that are pathogenic, or the bad guys, the ones that can attack, the ones that are not healthy, when they get into certain places of the body, when there's examples that I can give you all that might sound familiar, and that's really a problem with the microbiome. So for example, you might have had your child or yourself or someone you knew who might have had like an abscess, which is when the bacteria that shouldn't be there gets a little bit under the skin and starts to replicate. An abscess, or like folliculitis, an infection on the skin. It could be something like impetigo, which is a different kind of bacteria that could really spread on the skin. And we're all of us always have a microbiome, different kinds of microbes living on our skin. And so the point is, we want more of the good guys, we want diversity, and we want the good guys to keep the bad guys at bay, because they're always around us. So just use washing is not the solution. There's always the bad guys that your child might be vulnerable to, but as long as you have a lot of the good bacteria, the beneficial microbes, that will keep it all at bay. But kids with eczema have an added problem, right?
Right. You want that beneficial, I would almost say balance, because truly you have everything on you at all times. Even like like acne, you always have the bacteria that can cause acne. It's that sometimes those increase compared to the others, and then you have a pimple or something. So everything is always there. You just want that right balance. And to simplify, we want more of the good guys there doing their job, because in the past we thought about antibacterial and how to get all rid of everything, all microbes and all bacteria. And that's not the solution. And, when you start thinking, okay, if that's not the solution, now I have to cultivate this microbiome, it really starts you thinking and behaving completely differently.
Are babies born with skin microbiome?
Right. So right now we're not 100% sure that the amniotic fluid is microbiome free. I feel like there's still studies going on about that, but mostly it's a sterile environment there, but they're always researching something like that. So as they pass through whichever birth channel, whether it's a vaginal canal or through a C-section, during that process is when they're really first establishing their skin and gut microbiome. So both processes, a vaginal and a C-section, will lead to a different microbiome in the first few months to a year. There are studies that say it sort of balances out after a year to 3 years. I still think they're working through that out from what I read. But yes, during that first passage of life is when they are developing. They're first introduced to their microbiome, and that's obviously dependent on, as I mentioned, how they are born and the environment they are born in, and even simple things like, does the mother get the child right away, or is the child handed to nurse to nurse to nurse, and like that, even that, right? Because these are the first experiences. And another thing I wanted to say, and even if if you bathe them immediately versus waiting a few days, that can also affect the microbiome. And then through the first 3 years is when they're really sort of growing their microbiome. And after that, it's sort of steady state after that. Whatever you wash off almost grows back exactly the same. And it's hard to shift that balance after that.
So healthy skin has a diversity of different microbes, but they mostly should be the ones that help us out, protect us, create a barrier that helps protect the moisture, keep it in the skin, create the healthy oils. I think it's almost impossible to have healthy skin without a healthy microbiome.
Right, you need a health, because that's the one, the brains, that's determining so much, and we're still learning how much that's determining. And even your aroma or your odor is determined by your microbiome, and not necessarily that bacteria has a smell, but the different peptides and the different and their different reactions are going on your skin because of that bacteria. It's what's giving you that aroma. And I didn't say it, but and the mother's microbiome, both gut and skin, is very important in that process too. And that's why I feel, and more is being done now to educate women as they're preparing for having a baby and childbirth about getting their microbiome to a healthy state.
Yeah. We talk so much about microbiome, but we haven't touched upon what a skin mantle is and why that's so important to optimize. Can you tell us a bit about that, Shelly?
Yeah, so the skin mantle is sort of this barrier on your skin as well, and it has a pH at about anywhere between 4 to 5.2, 5.5. It varies with different people. And what you want to pay attention to there, and it's mostly like you would think about your skin layers itself, it's glued together with these oils and sebum. And so it's like a fatty type. The acid mantle instead is more of an aqueous nature. So it has a pH, and that pH is determined by your skin microbiome too, because it's your skin microbiome that secretes these different peptides that then influence. So it's all this cycle that influence your acid mantle, which then again protects you from the pathogens, because as pathogens come back with this slightly acidic skin, it helps defend your skin against it. So that's why your acid mantle is another barrier, a more chemical barrier in terms of having that acidity, but it's also a barrier to the skin that's highly influenced by the microbiome. So to have a healthy acid mantle, you also have to have a healthy microbiome, because the secretions of those bacteria is what's leading to that healthy acid mantle.
And a healthy skin barrier, right?
Right. And I usually sometimes I simplify it by thinking of the skin barrier as that. You can think of it as two. Sometimes it's such a big word. people like to think about it as the individual cell units coming together and glued together with the oils and lipids in your skin. But in truly, it is all three layers. It is your microbiome, it's your acid mantle, and it is the actual functioning skin layers.
Yeah, so let me just kind of recap. A healthy skin barrier keeps contaminants out and prevents skin from becoming dry and dehydrated. A huge issue for kids with eczema is the dry skin, right? In order to have a healthy skin barrier, you need to have a healthy skin pH, or the acid mantle, so that the bacteria that is healthy and help protect the barrier can thrive and grow on it, right?
Right. And you can imagine, say you're overwashing and you're washing off these lipids that glue the skin cells together, you're washing it off. And now the skin cells are sort of flaking off and they're floating away while you're damaging that barrier, and you're making your skin almost more porous. And now you're also losing a lot more water, aqueous, through that. So now your skin is dry in that it doesn't have the lipids, and it's also dehydrated in that it's losing water so rapidly. And then, yeah, that's going to cause some inflammation on the skin and lead to eczema.
And kids who have eczema, have broken skin, inflamed skin, itchy, dry, cracked skin, have a much higher tendency to develop infections on and under the skin that needs to be treated with things like antibiotics, both topical and oral, which are life-saving measures. So in order to get to the root cause of this whole problem, how do we approach it from the outside in? I work with families so much about inside out. We need to heal the microbiome of the body. We need to focus on gut health. We speak about the difference between band-aid solutions versus root cause solutions so much here. What is the root cause solution to optimizing the skin barrier, skin microbiome, skin pH for kids with eczema especially?
Yeah, you start thinking, how do I cultivate a healthy microbiome, which means diverse microbiome? And one of the things we do, there's a lot of things influencing your skin microbiome, including your gut microbiome, right? But I'll leave that one to you. But in terms of the environment you're in and what you do in day to day, it's washing. Washing has become, because we live in modern day society and we have been taught through generations to wash and keep yourself clean, and that will, prevent you from getting sickness and things like that. But we've gone extreme to the other way. We are, as a civilization, our skin microbiome is as we become cleaner, our skin microbiome is just dying off, right? It's so it's strategically thinking about how you're washing. And people get nervous when I start talking. Even I get nervous when I talk. What does that mean? Not bathing once, bathing twice a week, and that just blows your mind, right? But again, that mindset of, okay, let's make the microbiome healthy. That's your first defense for your skin. And what I like to say is, yes, babies only need a bath once or twice a week. And what I mean by bath is like a full body. You're putting them in, you're leaving them, you have the water against your skin for a few minutes. And what does that mean when they have milk and spit up and all that? I think what it meant for me is getting really comfortable spot cleaning. Hey, their face and neck is dirty, just clean that area. Hey, they had a blowout, clean that area. It's all this, again, a mindset shift of, okay, doing this, cleaning the skin less, or when it doesn't need to be clean, is actually going to help you. It's going to help them have a healthier skin microbiome and thus healthier skin. And that's something that it's hard to get comfortable with, but the science definitely supports it. And hey, you can do a little experiment yourself, especially in the winter. Cut down baths by half, and then get comfortable with the idea, because it is more of a mental exercise sometimes than not. And you can see the difference, and that goes for adults too. I think as a society overall, we overclean. We have running water, a lot of cleansing products at our disposal, and we want to use them and enjoy them. But I think that was one of the first things that really helped. And then I could talk a little bit about when you are cleaning, what to use.
So washing, so that's actually one of the biggest questions that I get asked is, how much should I bathe my baby, my child? How often is it appropriate? And I would say for every child that's different, but if you're not liking the results of your child's skin when they're bathing every day, maybe you need to cut down. And if you ask like 100 pediatricians what the right amount of bathing is for each child, they're going to all give you different answers. Different cultures do it differently. There's no one right number. But there is one right solution is if something is not working for your child, then switch it up. Don't just work with, this is what I was told to
Right.
do. This is what my friends are doing with their kids. This is what my pediatrician said to do in terms of how often or how long to bathe. We have changing weather in so many parts of the US and internationally. We're going into winter. The longer you sit in a hot bath, the more dry your skin can get, the more dry your child's skin can get. So maybe changing the amount of time that a child is sitting in the bath as well, because that does also determine how much is stripped off the skin, right? And
Yes, I mean,
hydrating.
yeah, you like pouring the water on their skin as they bathe instead of having them sit in a bathtub of water is also helpful. And you know what? I hear my kids outside and they're playing outside and in the dirt. And you know what? That's great because that's so great for your microbiome too. Being in the environment, being in nature is there's so many different things that are great for your skin microbiome. One is being in nature, of
Mhm.
course, what you eat. And there's little studies that say having siblings is great, having pets, great. Studies that show people that live in rural areas compared to urban areas have a different skin microbiome. So there's a few other things into play, most definitely. And you have to do it. Things are going to change how often you bathe them in the summer, during vacation, in the winter. Just get comfortable thinking about it though, and not having to stick to your rigid or what you grew up with or what you thought. Just open up and consider
My
differences,
favorite,
different
my
things.
favorite tool for babies and kids is like what wet, warm, clean cotton washcloth.
Mhm.
It goes a long way. You don't necessarily need to apply soap on it. Let's talk about soap.
Yeah.
What is the difference between soap and something like the cleansers that you developed that support pH, support the skin mantle and skin barrier?
Right. So traditional soap, as you know, the bar soap, that usually has, they actually all have a really high pH at about 11 because of the process. They're lye combined with fat, and lye is highly basic. So soap is very basic. And I mentioned our skin is slightly acidic. So using soap over and over, especially in the modern setting, can tend over time disrupt the pH of your skin. And disrupting the pH of your skin will then influence your microbiome because your microbiome itself thrives at that pH at about 4 to 5. So it's that whole cycle. It's like cycle, and then the microbiome creates that pH of 5 and they thrive in that pH of 5. And soap just doesn't support that, as well as it does a really good job of removing oils from your skin, including the natural oils that are there sort of gluing your skin cells together. And that's, as I mentioned, when those start, then you have nothing to glue your skin cells together. Those start sort of being washed off, and that's when you're getting irritated skin and you're getting the breaking of the skin barrier there. But more often now we have synthetic detergent. So now thinking of all the body washes, all the foamy body washes, and those are around that pH, usually about a 6 or a 7 in terms of more neutral pH, and their chemistry is different and it's not a soap. So a lot of baby washes have that now. And again, that does help with the question about pH, keeping the pH closer to the skin, but it's still it does a really good job of removing those oils and that lipid layer from the skin and therefore drying out the skin. So we still have that problem. And so what I then created was more of an oil-based product that doesn't do that, that cleanses the skin without making the skin dry. Like I thought that was a very important. And I like to say that this is not a new concept.
Mhm.
Even oil cleansing is as old as cleansing itself throughout the world, right? It's many different cultures do oil cleansing. It is a very old and loved and concept and understood that it does clean the skin in a very natural way. I did with my skincare line. We made oil cleansing just a little bit easier for parents to do because our oil turns into a milk and it's just that much easier to wash off and it just doesn't get everywhere.
I love your oil cleanser. I use it. I'm a big oil person and I will never go back. So we talked about cleansing, but what about bringing the moisture back into the skin? What are the options here? What's the most microbiome supporting, skin repairing, barrier protecting way to bring the moisture back into the skin?
Right. One, I'll say it is cleansing is a big factor of one, not removing it in the first place, right? That's your number one. Always think about how you're cleansing the skin and check and see how much influence you have there, because that's going to be your biggest deciding factor. And I could show you, I love to do this demo. This is our oil cleanser and it looks like a balm. It goes on, you can put it on baby's dry skin. And then when they go in the bath water, it turns into a milk. So even as they're in the bath water, you're in this like milky bath. So even the bath water is a little bit nourishing. And what happens is when they come out of that bath water, their skin isn't as dry. So when babies are under 3 months, I suggest this being the only, like that type of cleansing, oil-based cleansing and minimal is the only thing you use on baby, because they don't need anything on their skin because their skin is growing, their microbiome, their barrier is growing, there's acid, everything is growing and changing. They're going through baby acne. They're just balancing out, and you want that skin to do its job. Things are going to scare you. Skin's going to flake off. That's just them getting their new microbiome and working it all out. So many changes. I wouldn't worry too much of anything that's happening under 3 months of it. No, all we're doing is gentle cleansing. Even if the skin is dry, I would say that's actually a normal exfoliating process that babies have. They're in a new drier environment now. Things are going to happen. So then after 3 months of age, and winter's coming, different things are happening, then using, like, we have an oil, an omega rich oil, which has a lot of omega 3s and 6, which the skin is used to, and those are called essential fatty acids, because the skin doesn't make them itself, and you don't make them itself. It has to be provided by the food and the products that you use, and they're in our omega rich oil. So there are oils like our Kalahari melon seed oil is so rich in omega-6, and that's great for the skin. It absorbs nicely in the skin because it's just so much more compatible. It's not heavy, it's light, and you would be surprised when you use oils and lotions with omega-3 and omega-6, how moisturizing it can be and still light, because it's so compatible with the skin. So when you're looking for moisturizer, you want to hear omega-3 and omega-6 in there. And we have lotions. So many parents love and swear by lotions because they do something. They give you oil and water, which I said skin can be both dry and dehydrated, lacking oil and water. So lotions do this amazing thing of giving you both, and they just feel so good, and people love putting them. Our lotion is a pH of 5. I think that's very important when you're looking at any product with water. You want to thinking about the microbiome again. What's the pH of that? I want it to be very similar to my child's pH. And water-based products, I always look at the preservatives. What water-based products have to have preservatives? What are you using? There's a list on mine that I specifically chose for children, but that's a point of research also. So nothing under, short answer, nothing under 3 months for moisturizing. After that, oils, lotion, balms are amazing because they create a barrier. They lay flat on your skin, and they're preventing that moisture loss
from leaving
on your
right?
skin.
It allows the skin underneath it to kind of heal itself, protect itself. That's the difference between a lotion and a balm, like, or barrier cream. So so you also have a balm in your arsenal. The main thing is the reason why I recommend your products so much is I don't consider them to be band-aid solutions like many, like steroid creams or band-aid solutions. They do something. Once you stop using it, the effect is gone. The kinds of products that support microbiome health and allow the body to heal itself are, for me, considered root cause solutions to kids with eczema and sensitive skin. And even more importantly, no toxins, right? There are no
Right.
toxins. That is so important because everything you put on the skin seeps into the skin, correct?
Yes, especially if it's broken somewhere, which happens for many different reasons, and you get that breaking of the skin, and it's a different conversation. But when that happens, it's seeping in, it's affecting the entire body then. And the skin is, it's one of those ways, your gut affects your whole body, and then that's a way your skin, things happening in your skin can affect other parts of your body.
Skin is your biggest organ.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it allows things out and in. You detox through it, you absorb things through it. So we don't want to put anything toxic on our kids' skin. We don't want any toxic ingredients. If for a family who's just like starting off, they don't really know where to turn when it comes to products, they're maybe switching up things. We have a question here. For Kim asked, well, she's been using Dove sensitive soap every other day, but there's like a lot of dryness still around the eyes. What do you recommend as like a starter set for kids with eczema in your line of products from Kiss Kiss?
Yeah, the first product is our Lullaby product. Oh, it's all this one's all scratched up, but it's our Lullaby product. Really cute. This is our travel size, and it's in our discovery kit. And this is an oil-based cleanser, and it has coconut, Kalahari, and sesame seed oil. And it does that same. You know what? It's like, so you have a child with sensitive skin. I would put this product on the places you really want to clean, their private areas, their face, their neck, depending on if they're a baby and they're eating, and places that you think need cleanser. Everything else, water is fine, just like a dripping of water. Start with that, not soaking in the bathtub, doing it with, even like if you have a bucket, or pouring the water, less time in the bath. And I know bath is self-care, and then it's just like really time to relax. And I see that I have 4 kids. I totally understand that. And maybe you can include different types of water play that includes pouring, and get creative with things like that. But the first thing I would do is, strategically think how you can decrease, just not even the bath, just the bath length, the time, how you bathe, and where you're putting the cleanser is one. And then when you're using a cleanser, like an oil-based cleanser, like Lullaby. And then, so if you talked about the irritation in the eyes, I would, use something like our unscented lotion, or, around the eyes, just gently, and see how that goes. If that area really does need a little bit of moisture. So if it's dry, I would use the lotion. If it's more like cracked, I would use the balm and put it around and see if that helps.
Okay.
Of course, always first starting with how you're cleansing.
Also, we moms and dads, I know that a lot of your kids have allergies, different kinds of allergies.
Mhm.
So always read the ingredients in any product.
Yes.
They're just to make sure that there is no reaction or ingredient that your child shouldn't be exposed to. Also, there's another question from Kshama, who asked, can we use any of your products for skin staph infections?
So they're not going to be,
They're not
that's a
antibacterial.
clinical problem. And I think you have to get the
Oh.
infection, speak to Dr. Gluzman and get the infection under bay, because it's not going to change the bacteria on your skin, right? And that's what that infection is, because there is an overgrowth of this bad pathogenic bacteria, and it's causing your skin to break out. I would get that under control first, and heal that up, and then maintenance wise start using like gentler cleansers, and just strategically washing your child.
Also, if you're ever suspecting like an infection on your child's skin, it could be very red, changes suddenly. Maybe there's a fever, maybe it's very wet appearing, very red, very broken skin. Another term for that is like weeping, when you see like a lot of fluid coming out of that, maybe bubbling up. All of those are symptoms of possible infection. And if that's the case, you have to always take your child to the pediatrician immediately, because very often these infections can spread. And even though I am a holistic pediatrician, these are life-saving measures, and so you have to take them very seriously, and have your child seen using a conventional approach. needs to happen. So I just want
Yes.
to kind of keep that in mind, that we're working on root cause solutions here, but there's also a whole world of making sure that your child is healthy, that there's no bacterial overgrowth.
Yeah.
Yeah, another question from Lynn is, when would it be appropriate to add a steroid cream? Because so many families here are have kids who are using steroid creams topically on the skin, occasionally or all the time per the recommendations of their doctors and pediatricians and allergists and dermatologists. So do you put the steroid cream first and then the moisturizer, or the other way around? Or is that a question for the pediatricians?
Yeah, that would be a question for your pediatrician. If you're using the steroid cream, I don't even know if you have to mix it with a moisturizer. I would try to use it as you use your steroid cream, try to get the skin under control and where it's comfortable enough to then start a different skincare routine. I had the same problems. I mean, we had steroid creams in the house, and if I couldn't control it, I would have to use it. And as I was going through my own experiences with my son, and the goal there is, okay, after we have the situation under control to some extent, okay, how do we now start avoiding this happening again and start letting your skin rebuild and know what to do on its own, so that it itself can start fighting the microbes. It itself can start fighting the pathogens that are interacting with the skin, causing the infection. And now you're thinking, okay, I just need to, how do I get more good microbes on my child's skin? Like, that type of thinking is going to help you a lot. How do I get that beneficial balance on his skin? How do I get, and then you're like, okay. And it goes back to the gut too. Gut is a huge part. I didn't talk about that because I know Dr. Gluzman talks about that a lot, but what you eat, your skin doesn't start right here. Your skin starts deep down. So those healthy skin cells are starting way inside your body. And it's a function of what you eat. And it's that, fruits and vegetables and whole grains and less processed foods and things like that. And I like to say, it's always good. I consider it always adding those things as opposed to taking things out. Like, if you can, add more variety, add all these different things instead of worrying about what you should be taking off, unless you've talked to and you have some allergies and things to consider. That's a different story. If you're not considering any allergies and things like that, I always think, okay, let me just add, because when I start telling my child, I'm taking this out, add, and then you'll see the other stuff kind of like balance itself off. At least that's the strategy I use, because I did have to get my son getting comfortable and enjoying. It's a palate change that happens in terms of what you're eating too. And so you're going to do that good gut health, those changes in your diet to lead to good gut health, as well as the changes in how you care for and washing your skin. And those two working together is really gonna what prevent you from maybe the next flare up or triggers being triggers. The goal here is, how do we stop getting triggered so frequently? How do we get that a little bit under control? And even if we do get a trigger, how is it faster, shorter, or a 24-hour thing, like something different? Because even come hay fever season, my little one is going to start itching behind behind the legs again, and I'm going to have to manage that a little bit. Throughout the year, he's fine. He does have hay fever, and that's because of the microbiome itself, and we're working through that, and that's part of the whole atopic march and all that. But he did manage that. But it's something that's going to happen over time. And it's mind-blowing to me that one of the things you can do in terms of your skin is thinking how you wash it and using less. It's not even doing something more. So that's one of the amazing things about this. It's not even, don't do anything more. It's like, how do you get comfortable paring back? So that's just and nobody tells you this. No marketing out there shares this with you. And, it's just not common enough in our Western culture. And even when we do mention it, people get like, oh, you're dirty, you're this and that. But yeah, I assure you, my kids are dirty. So.
I hear the passion in your voice, and I so well said, so beautifully said.
I just wish, and there are platforms, it's becoming more comment and I will share. And I think The Baby and the Biome is a really good book if anybody is looking for something. And she talks a lot about the microbiome and its relationship to the gut. And I feel like this is, so this is Mina Lili, The Baby and the Biome. I have my books here. And another one that will get you really comfortable about thinking strategically about washing and just change your mindset around it, which isn't, that's an effort. That's part of this exercise is Beyond Soap. She goes through, Sandy Skotnicki goes through, and she also is present on Instagram, Dr. Skotnicki, and she convinces you for sure that this less is more approach does work with obviously with very good clinical and statistical data. Scares you a little bit in terms of like where we're headed if we keep on doing what we are doing in terms of cleaning. And another, actually a very fun read is Clean by James Hamlin. And because this goes through the history of clean and why we are over cleaning now and what's being done new in the microbiome. And I think his bibliography is also amazing because he shares just a really, really good research, convincing research.
Thank you. I love that you shared your fave books.
I always have them here for a discussion like this. Yeah, it's because it's a mindset change, a lot of it, and reading these books and hearing these talks will get you there because that's what happened to me.
Do you have time for just one more quick question? I cannot believe how time flew. I can't believe it. So there are some moms and dads viewing who are inside the Eczema Rescue Program, which is a 6-month comprehensive live and digital program intended to transform eczema from the inside out, looking at the root cause of the problem and working with that. And one of the things we do, even from the beginning, is using detox baths to help restore minerals, to help the skin microbiome. And so for families who are using detox baths, can they still use Lullaby?
Oh yeah, because Lullaby is beautiful and that this is something you can apply onto your skin. And we also have like the jellies for older kids who want more interactive fun. And these are colored with plant-based, with
beets,
with spirulina and hibiscus and sea buckthorn fruit oil. So they're not dyes or colors. But if you have especially sensitive skin, start with the Lullaby because that doesn't have any of those. But we also try to make bath time a little bit fun for the kiddos. Yeah. So yeah, you can apply that to the bath because as you go into the bath, it'll transform. So you'll have that detoxing bath there. But what you'll do is also create this like milk bath that is also moisturizing the skin. So you're not, when you come out of the bath, you don't have dry skin. Let me tell you, when you come out of the bath that first time and you feel your child's skin and it doesn't feel, and you're patting it off and it doesn't feel as dry, it's such a mind-blowing experience. And again, this is not new technology or anything. This has been done forever. And we even have many products in the luxury skincare market that do it specifically for the skin. But we really needed to take that technology and put it back into baby skincare because it is so needed. So yes, you can combine them. And I think you'll see really good results when you do that. Because I did detox baths and using this like Epsom salt and things like that for my kids. But yeah, you'll see that it definitely works together.
Where can moms and dads find more information? I just posted the link to Kiss Kiss Goodnight, and I do send it out all the time to families who I work with one-on-one in my practice, Blossom Pediatrics, or in the members of the Eczema Rescue Program. That's like the #1 recommendation that I've been making, especially recently, since more and more I've been using your products. You sent me a sample box was it like 6 months ago, and he started testing it out with different kids who I felt could really benefit from the extra support of the skin mantle and skin integrity and the microbiome support, and it's been wonderful. So thank you so much. Where can families find more information?
Yeah, so definitely the Kiss Kiss Goodnight website, kisskissgoodnight.com. And we also have Instagram and we have our shop there, and you can get the products there, and you have a code Gluzman 15 GLUZMAN 15, and you can use that'll give you 15%. I actually have to activate it at 3 p.m. today is when it's activated. But you'll get 15% off your
Aw.
first order. And we're also on Amazon, like the Lullaby, the Discovery Kit, which has deluxe travel size versions of our 3 OG products that they're on Amazon. And our Sweet Lip Whispers was actually our most popular product, our lotion, because families just love lotions. It's something they're very used to using, and it feels good. So that's also on Amazon. So we are on our Kiss Kiss Goodnight website, and which has all our products. And then Amazon has a select products, Lullaby Cleanser, the Discovery Kit, as well as the lotions are on Amazon. And the code Gluzman15, GLUZMAN 15 can be used on our website.
Thank you. I didn't know about the code. This is wonderful.
Yeah, I just
Thank you.
honestly, I just wrote it and I have to put it into the system. I
you.
forgot, but I will do that, and that'll be a nice way, of course, to for your community to get 15% off. And while you're on the website, definitely take a look at our ebook, because so much of what I said and these books that I mentioned, except Baby and the Biome, because that's relatively new, book, is in my free ebook, and it talks exactly about some of the things I mentioned, and it has some of the citations and the books I mentioned there. So if you want all that I said in writing, our ebook on the site has that too.
Okay, I'm gonna link it also for everybody here. Thank you so much for your expertise, for making such incredible products, for doing it so beautifully, mindfully. It was literally the most beautiful box I've gotten. So
I'm so glad.
beautifully packaged, and it was so lovely to use. My daughter
I'm
loves
so
it.
glad.
I love it. Thank you.
I mean, part of this is also remembering that skincare is something to be enjoyed. It is a self-care experience. Kids find so much joy in bathing, and just trying to figure out how we still put that in there. And, things I'll talk about later is like, yeah, sometimes you can have that long bath, like once or twice a week, and then just that shorter bath, the shorter washes all the other days, because there's still that need, that's still part of childhood. And how can we, and therefore the colors and the jellies and all that other stuff comes in, because yes, I have 4 children, and I fully understand that. And skincare forever should be something that we enjoy too.
Thank you, Shelly. Thank you so much for coming on to the Eczema Rescue Club. It's so lovely to
Thank
connect
you for
with
having me. I love you guys. I love all your messaging, and I continuously share, especially when it comes to the gut health. And I am excited that 10 years ago we didn't have holistic pediatricians like you, and I'm so excited now that we do, because it's going to benefit society as a whole so much. And I can't wait to see what 10 years from now what we have.
Thank you. Do you mind staying on for just like a minute?
Sure.
Thank you, everybody. You could watch replays. I'll link everything again in a few minutes, and I'll see you guys soon in another live.
Yay.
Let me just stop the live.